Hi everyone, good evening. Such a lovely Saturday evening. How are you? How is everyone? Are you guys here yet? Hello, hello. So, I need to check if I've got a. Today is my last of the series of lovely live chats that I've been doing with these incredible women that I've gotten to know through work, through social media, and it's been such a lovely, lovely, lovely experience. And today I have with me a very special and last guest of this series, Lady J. She and I actually met through Instagram. I'd seen her work on the amazing show called Transparent, and I was a fan of her writing and her work. And I reached out to her and told her work is amazing. And then the next thing you know, we got along really well when we met in LA, and she was kind enough to. And I'm so excited to speak with her and for all of you to meet her. Hello!
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm so good.
You're
Should I
very,
put
very
headphones
chipper
on?
for the morning.
What's that?
I said you're very chipper this morning.
Oh, thank you. I had my coffee. Well, I'm having my coffee.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's so special to have you as my last guest on this series of
Thank you. I'm happy
incredible
to be
women,
here.
and it's just so lovely. So I want to tell all of you all watching how we met. I already said that we met through Instagram, and I slid into your DMs.
You slid into my DMs. I appreciated it.
I feel like such a cool millennial now. But yeah, so first of all, tell us all, how are you doing in Los Angeles? How is everything there? And how
I'm
is
good. I'm gonna grab
conversation?
my headphones real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna walk over and grab these so I can hear you better, so it's a
I
little
love
clearer.
your purple walls.
Oh, thank you.
I think she'll be back when she gets her headphones. There.
Okay, there we go. So much better.
Good.
Um, I'm doing all right. It's as a writer, I spend a lot of time alone. And
Anyway. Yeah.
yeah, and so I'm kind of used to this level of solitude, but to be restricted to this solitude is a whole other story.
Yeah.
And
I think everyone is feeling like I've been saying from the beginning of this whole quarantine thing that what is shattered now is the illusion of control. We've never had control
yeah, yeah, it's
ever.
true.
But like to be able to go out and all of that has been removed. Or for someone like me, traveling the world is so important. And I'm like,
Yeah. Hmm.
you know, but yeah, like you, me, I think we're a few people who are actually okay by ourselves. So
Yeah,
otherwise, you're doing well. And you, like me, have your doggies for company, and I have my kitty
I
for company. So
do.
we're so
Oh,
blessed.
thank God. Thank God. I mean, I'm a little bit insane right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I
But I
mean,
would be even more insane if I didn't have my dogs.
like we were talking earlier when we were talking about having this chat. She was deciding which movie to watch. She was deciding which movie to watch, and she discussed it with her doggies. So I think that's
Yeah,
I think that's a normal cat or dog owner level of insanity anyway. It's just
I
going
think
to get
so.
worse, I think.
Yeah, we plan our days together, and then, which is the same thing every day.
Yeah, basically.
But they do have a say in things. I have to make them feel included in the conversation.
Oh, that
Otherwise,
is
it's just
good.
not fair.
That is good. Do you want to say hi to Lady J?
Oh, yes, please.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Hi, cutie. So
So,
cute.
I I wanted to ask you today. We're discussing the power of art and creativity. So why
Hmm.
don't you tell us a little bit about how you started your journey as an artist? If I'm not wrong, it's through music and especially classical music.
Yeah. Um, I grew up on a little farm in Pennsylvania in a community of 200 people. And there are a lot of Amish folks, Mennonites, very, very conservative, very stripped back, no glamour, no
And
really out.
200 people who knew everything about everyone, I'm assuming.
We actually all kept kind of to ourselves, strangely
Ah,
enough. I mean, our family was very close. I have a very large family, and they were scattered throughout the area. So we would, I knew everything about everyone in my family. But in the community, we were kind of separate from everyone because there were so many different walks of life.
right.
With the Amish, we weren't Amish, but the Mennonite, I had ancestors who were Mennonite. So it was a really rural area. But one of the things that people loved in that community was music. So music was a huge part of my life. In church, we were a very religious community,
Okay.
and I started playing the piano when I was 4 years old, and ended up playing in church and studying as a classical pianist for most of my childhood. It was either that or
Amazing.
do the farm chores, and I really was not good at farm chores.
Hmm.
Well, I found that I could get away with not doing my chores if I practiced.
And
It was
are
some.
you being serious when you're saying farm chores, like it's proper farm
Oh
life?
yeah, no, I was on a farm. It wasn't an industrial farm, so it wasn't a huge farm. It was just a family farm.
Sure.
But it was either shovel cow manure or
I was just
practice
gonna say, was there
bach.
like poo shoveling and
Oh
everything?
yeah, a lot of poo shoveling. It was not, I mean, the dust got to me. I wasn't into it.
Sure.
Can you imagine?
Not my jam. No.
Yeah. And there was hunting, and I had my
So
first.
what did music mean to you apart from, like you said, okay, it's
Mhm.
when you're younger, it's a way. I already see it as a way that you could separate yourself and have like a. I always feel like music is my superpower. I don't know if you
Yeah,
feel that way. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
and it's like it's not like a superhero with one superpower. When you have music, you have like a
Hmm.
cachet of superpowers. Like because
Yeah.
it depends
Hmm.
on how you want to morph it. And I think having music early on in your life makes you feel unique to be separate. Did you feel that way?
Absolutely. Well, it was a passport, I think, more than anything. It became a passport to different walks of life, and it became a way to travel
Yeah,
without leaving my tiny town.
I love that.
So,
Absolutely.
when I would play Beethoven, I would be transported to Austria or Germany in
Yeah,
the 18th century
yeah,
and 19th century. And when I played Chopin, I would be transported to Poland or France, and it was this way of escaping, and and even just if you think of the vibration of music, if you are reading a piece of classical music
yes,
and you are making these motions with your hands,
yes.
you're making the exact same motions that someone else made 200 years ago.
Hundreds of years. Yeah.
So
Like
you
like
are,
a chant, like saying a
it's exact, yeah, totally
yeah,
like a chant.
but a
And
physical one. Yeah,
but it's physical, and there's the vibration of the piano as well. And so
amazing.
it felt like I was time traveling in a way, and it became this really magical experience and a way to put all of my confusions and frustrations to channel into something really productive and beautiful.
I think I don't know if you'd agree with me. The beauty of art is that apart from the doubt that you have as an artist, I think all artists are always like in imposter syndrome and like, oh, but what if it's a bit, and then we do
Yeah,
it and you have a
sure.
sense of freedom. But for me, what I found is art removes doubt from everything else. Even though
Right.
I'm a
Hmm.
doubtful artist, it removes doubt from the meaning of life, from my identity, from my emotions and how to
Hmm.
communicate. It removes all doubt. So, how did this music help you or help form Lady J as we know her today?
Well, it removes doubt, I think, because it removes ego,
Mm.
and you are connected to humanity when you're connected to your art. And in that way, it allows you. I think, when we talk about I and we talk about who I am and who who I am meant to be, I think that is the person who we are when we're happiest. When we find our joy and when we find what we love, then we
Yeah,
feel like we're truly ourselves, right?
yes.
So if you remove the ego and of being separate from everyone, and you are able to connect through love and through joy, um, through art. You find who you are, because that's where you find your joy and that's where you find the goodness. And in that way, where I was raised to be one thing, I was raised to be very male and masculine and all of these things that felt like it wasn't who I was. Um, I didn't really realize that I was trans. I didn't realize I was trans at all. I just
Which
realized
I'm
that
going
there
to
was,
get to definitely. But so you're saying the music kind of helped find yourself in all aspects of yourself.
absolutely, because it lifted me up out of despair and guided me towards where my joy was, which is eventually how I discovered who
And
I
did you
was.
and you? I remember you mentioning you studied classical music like at a conservatory or classical
Yeah.
music school.
So I got a scholarship to a school called Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan when I was 15, and I went and
Amazing.
studied there my last 2 years of high school there.
Yes.
So it was a boarding school for music nerds and theater nerds and all amazing,
Amazing.
just like teenage artists. It was
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah. And so you found you write your own music as well?
I do.
Right. So we'll come to that. See, I write my own music, and then when people say, Shruti, you should write more and you should explore the visual medium, it just seems so daunting and unimaginable. And that someone like you writes with such a level of human sensitivity and understanding that I so very much admire about your writing. So
Oh, thanks.
how did you start writing? And how did you decide to write for television? For those of you who don't know, Lady J has written a beautiful show called Transparent, which you all must watch, and Pose,
Thank you.
which is on
Thanks.
Hotstar. But yes, tell us.
Um, I had a music teacher when I was 10, and I remember very clearly he gave me an assignment to compose a piece of music. And I thought, how terrifying, and how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to pull music from midair? Um, and so I went home and I just copied someone else's music.
No.
I like took something I had heard on a film or something. But then I took it and then I made it my own, and then I changed it so much
Oh, I was going to
that
say,
it
did you like cut copy and deliver? Or did
I
you
did
like.
no, no, no. I changed it so much that it no longer sounded like that piece. And I realized that, there is no there
No,
are
there
no
isn't.
original ideas.
No, there
And
isn't,
so
really. Yeah.
it was about like building on what I had learned already, and instead of just making something out of thin air. It was about building and taking ideas and technique, and using technique to create. So I studied composition. I studied classical composition from that point on, up through college. But of course, it was all, atonalism, and it was very like strange sounding music for a while.
Because
But
you
then
were, I
songwriting.
think, especially when you're studying music, you're like, you have to flex your, musical muscle. Like, I'm odd. I do only polyrhythms and odd time signatures. And I'm like,
Totally,
yeah. Yeah.
totally. A lot of it was completely unlistenable.
Yeah.
Um, and it wasn't until I was living in New York that I really started writing songs, which is a whole other form.
And writing for television. And so when you, I think what is beautiful about your writing for television is you are drawing very authentic, very viscerally, and very honestly from your own life experiences as well. So
Sure.
when I saw Transparent, it moved me in a way that was very beautiful and real. And I think what all writers, what all artists are trying to achieve is whether your audience agrees with you or doesn't agree with you, or you're educating them through it, whatever you're trying to do, if you can touch them and
Yeah.
and um, and in the inappropriate emotional way, then
Yes.
you've like, then you've like achieved something. And I think I am more open to the concept of transitioning the transgender community. I don't think everybody, even people watching or people otherwise anywhere in any part of the world, it is open or liberal or understanding as they should be. But what you achieved with that show and your writing was it humanized it to what it really is. So how does it feel to draw and write so honestly from that place?
How does it feel? It's not the most pleasant feeling. It's really difficult. It feels good once it's done
Yes.
and once people receive it and you realize that people are connecting to it and that it is
Yes.
opening people's mind. That process is a really positive experience. But
Yes.
the actual experience of writing it feels like an excavation, and that excavation is really difficult, grueling work. Um, where, I mean, I'm in therapy, thank God. And therapy really is a great touchstone for during those times because, we can all get lost in ourselves and we can get lost in our trauma and we can get lost in our struggle. And I think what makes those stories feel authentic is that we as writers, the writers' room, all the writers on the show, we all excavated um, periods of our life that were difficult to look at, and we interrogated um, not only our decisions, but the decisions of those around us. So it wasn't just about the life of the lead character who was transitioning, it was about the family
I
who was
love that.
transitioning.
That, like, for those of you who haven't watched the show, it gives you a dimension of everyone's possible perspective, which is what is really, really beautiful. The acceptance, the lack of it. I love the wife. Like, she's just like my favorite character in the
Me
whole
too.
show.
Shelley, she's amazing. And Judith Light, the actress who plays her, is so
Yeah, she's
amazing as well.
incredible as well. But just even the
Yeah.
writing. I want to ask you, when we talk about the power of art, when you said it's 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 daunting and it's frightening to excavate from yourself, but art also intrinsically for a person like you, I think, defines courage and art are one and the same for someone like you, especially when you're writing the way you are. So what has art meant in terms of courage for you, or inspiring others? What do
Mm.
you think Transparent as a show, or even Pose, has done in terms of courage for the trans community?
For the community at large, I think it creates a reflective surface for people to practice life with, where not only are you able to see yourself in television and in film and find strength in numbers, to say that, oh, I'm not the only one who feels this way, or I'm not the only one who lives this way, but also these characters can have in fiction, characters can really do things that we're afraid to do in real life.
Yes, absolutely.
I know a lot of the characters that I've written for have said things that I wished I had said. Um, there was
Or
one episode.
articulated it with the maturity you wish you had, or whatever. Yes.
Exactly,
Yes,
which you can really only have in hindsight.
absolutely.
Um, and so, in that way, it's allowed me to live my life more fully. I'm less afraid to make mistakes because I know at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a mistake. We can all learn from every experience. And as a writer, I can take that mistake or that experience and put it into my art. And I think for what that's does for the community as well is it allows us more freedom to express ourselves, and it allows us, gives us the courage to move forward, knowing that it's all part of the process, and that at the end of the day, we are not lost. We are seen, and our stories are being told and reflected on the screen.
Absolutely. I love that. And I now coming to, you know, um, your transition as an artist, but your transition as a person. You've transitioned into being and choosing to be a woman. Now, I remember when I first met you, what I loved about you is I have like an annoying curiosity about things and things I don't understand. Like my intention is never to offend. I'm like, listen, how does this happen? Now, what are you supposed to say? Like it's like a problem, but it's also a gift because I collect vast amounts of knowledge, fewer friends, but lots of knowledge. And
Sure, sure.
I I want the people watching. I've told you this before. India has a huge transgender community, but it's
Hmm.
segregated and it's not
Hmm.
understood in the way that it should be. The choice made to do something like this. What is the process? What would you like to say to people who do not understand this or who do not understand the power of the choice you made for yourself and why that's
Hmm.
important?
Well, the word choice is really an interesting word to describe any life. Um, I think that I didn't choose this any more than you chose to be you. You know, we don't really
And
choose who
therein
we
lies
are.
the essence, isn't it?
Yeah, it's again going back to joy, that place where you find joy is who you are. And I found joy in my femininity. And always from a very young age, anytime I was feminine, I was free. And anything else that was imposed on me felt like a burden. And
It feels
so,
like you vibrating on a feminine frequency was your preordained frequency, so to say.
absolutely.
Yes.
That's the best way I've ever heard my gender put ever.
Really?
Yeah, no, that's totally what it is. Because it's
It
not as
feels that
simple
way.
as male and female, you know. It's especially, I mean, if we're talking in a binary world, yes, I am a female. Yes, I have physically transitioned to
Yes.
where I am also medically female now.
Yes.
But it's not that simple. It's really, I feel like I embrace all genders within my body and within my spirit,
Sure.
and I am all genders, and I fluctuate on the scale of masculine and feminine. But really, femininity is where I found my childhood joy, and it's
Yes.
where I find my power as an adult woman.
And as a child, was it difficult for you to feel feminine? Was it unaccepted in the environment you grew up in, or was it encouraged?
It was not so black and white, really. It was
Mm.
all over the place. I felt like at moments, you know, with my family has been very accepting, but there were also mixed messages I was getting from the church.
Sure.
It was the 80s, and AIDS was the headline of every news story.
Yeah.
And along with that, the gay community was being persecuted and blamed.
Yes.
So there
I'm
was a
sorry to
lot of,
interrupt. I loved, absolutely loved what you said. When we were talking about Corona and COVID, you said to
mhm,
me, but this is not the first pandemic that the LGBTQ community has seen. And I was like, well, and then you said,
yeah,
you all went through AIDS and you went through it alone. It wasn't like governments were looking to find vaccines or to help you
yeah,
all out or to tell you this is what you need to
hmm,
do to stay safe. There wasn't, when you read into the history of it, they were like, that's your problem. And
yeah,
then when it started permeating, it started becoming everyone's problem much later on.
much, much, much
So
later.
it's so powerful, that thing you said, that this is not the first pandemic we faced, and
Yeah,
that must have been lonely. And like that is isolation on a human level, that is just based on discrimination and misunderstanding. So I mean, that is something that really touched me. But yeah, please continue.
well, HIV/AIDS made the LGBT community what it is, and in that, you know, we had these amazing leaders who created places like the Gay Men's Health Crisis in New York, which
Yes.
really changed the face of healthcare.
Yes.
Um, and so it created our community and made us stronger at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But also taught us that we can't rely on
Mainstream.
mainstream media or the world, or the government or politics, and you
The
know, we have to
structure.
really, the
Yeah.
structure, yeah,
Yeah.
we have to make these changes and find our strength within ourselves, um, and connect to each other, and we did, and you know, a lot of us didn't survive, but those of us who did will never forget those lessons that we've learned through that.
That's beautiful. And what do you think is the future of trans artists? Because there's so much of a voice that needs to be heard. And how do you feel
Mm.
to be such a, you know, such a, I would say, emotional pioneer in a situation like this?
Well, that's very nice. Thank you. Um, I I get really excited when I see young trans artists who are out there doing their thing. And um, I don't know, I love like Kim Petras is so fun. She's a pop star and she's trans, but transness isn't really a part of her expression.
Yes. Yeah,
It
yeah,
just happens to be who she is.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and
I
I
say
think
that
that's,
all the time when I sing in London or America. I'm like, I just happen to be Indian and brown. So that could be any
yes,
identity because my
totally.
hero is Kurt Cobain and I feel like singing rock and roll. So it doesn't
Yes,
matter if you're a brown girl singing these or like, if you don't, you can be whoever. And I think whether that's
yeah,
race or gender or sexuality, it should be absolutely up to you.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm creating shows as well. You know, Pose, we're in season 3 right now. We're paused, or we're on hiatus because of COVID. Um, However, I do have other projects lined up that have nothing to do with my transness, and I think that's really a success and a sign of the times when
Did
we
you
don't
feel
have to
though in the
create.
beginning as an artist that you had to write about this first and then move on?
I did. Well, I tried not to. I tried to avoid it. I didn't want to be pigeonholed. I didn't want to be labeled. And as anything, I wanted the freedom to move around in my art. However, when I showed up in spaces as a classical musician, I was playing Carnegie Hall in New York, and I was playing
Yes.
for these incredible ballet companies. And suddenly I showed up as a trans person, having physically transitioned. It was physically obvious when I showed up in a space that people would be very confused as to who I was or what I was or what I was expressing. And I realized that in order to have a happy life, I had to educate the world.
Yes,
And so it was a very
absolutely.
selfish thing, actually,
I
where
love that. No, I
I
love
just wanted
that.
a better life. And so I put it into my art.
I think if you've been through something good, not so good, and you have come to some realization, the best thing you can do for someone who's one step behind you is to articulate that realization. I think that
Yeah,
helps, whether it's
totally.
through writing or speaking or,
Hmm.
however.
Teaching.
Now,
Hmm.
coming to a fun part, you and I love a woman called Dolly Parton, and I
Oh my
remember
God.
I love her so much. Love, love, love her.
Yes, absolutely.
And I remember you also telling me that she smells incredible, which is like,
She does.
I don't know why, but I'm now obsessed with how she smells. She
I want to
needs like,
ask her next time I see her what she wears.
please.
I'm gonna do that next time I see her. I'm gonna
But
ask her
yeah,
what
so
she wears.
someone like her, she's an inspiring artist. Who are some of the artists? They could be from the world of classical music or contemporary, or
Mm,
who are like your top 3 inspired? I know it's a shit question, but like, if,
top 3. It changes from day to day,
yeah, it
really.
does. It does.
It really does. I think Tori
Currently,
Amos
then.
has
Sorry,
Tori
sorry.
Amos
Yeah.
has always been a huge inspiration of mine. She took rock music and really turned it on its head and infused classical
Yes.
music, and that's
Yes.
something that I try to do as well. Um, and she also was just unapologetically strong
Yes.
um, when a lot of
Wild
these,
feminine energy.
yeah, the wild feminine energy, yeah. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate her spirituality as well, and everything that she brings into
Yeah.
her music. Dolly Parton, obviously, and the reason I love Dolly isn't because she's this like funny, over the top country singer, but it's because she really is the bridge between so many worlds,
She
red
absolutely
states
is.
and blue states, conservatives and liberals. No
Yes.
matter who you are, you love Dolly Parton. And
Yes.
I I have her on one shoulder telling me what to do with my life. And then
What would Dolly say?
I have
Yeah.
like Madonna on the other shoulder. And they both give me great advice.
We need both. I
Dolly
love
says,
that.
like, don't get political, girl. She's like,
Yeah.
don't be political, lead with your heart, lead with love, lead with kindness.
Yes.
And then I get political.
Yeah. I love that. I remember when we were talking, you mentioned that you had an altar and you had like some Hindu goddesses as well. And
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what is, and spirituality doesn't, I don't mean religion to anybody. It could mean religion, it couldn't, but
Hmm.
what has spirituality meant at a time like this? I feel, I may be sounding spiritually
Mm.
pompous, but I feel like some of us who've been like with ourselves and in the process, I don't find quarantine such a nightmare at all. I'm actually
Hmm.
really enjoying my reconnection to myself and the larger sense
Hmm.
of what we need to do as people. So, what is spirituality meant to you at a time like this?
Well, a lot of people are facing economic insecurity, and
Yes.
I feel really lucky that I'm on something that is paused rather than
Yes.
something that is over. So I think in any times of insecurity and uncertainty, spirituality is a way to ground ourselves so that we aren't sent back into a place of trauma.
Mm.
Because often we we're taken out of the present moment because of our trauma and because
Yeah,
of
and
our
someone just
past
said, yeah, because you have
difficulties.
money, and it is true. It is. We're very,
Yeah,
we are like very blessed. It doesn't mean you don't see the plight of others, but to be thankful first is the first
right.
step in spirituality. Absolutely. Yeah.
And in that way, when you're making decisions out of fear and out of trauma, you're not maybe making the best decisions based on what you need today, but you're making decisions based on on uncertainty, and that might not lead you to where you need to go, and it might
Absolutely.
not direct you to the solution. It
Yeah.
might create bigger problems. So for me, my spirituality is a way to keep me grounded, to keep me present, so that I'm making the decisions that are best for me and for the world um, in this moment.
I love that. Thank you so much, so much for speaking with me today. Is there
Thanks for having
anything
me
you'd
on.
like to say to everyone watching? First of all, I want to say for all the insomniacs who are going to be awake at 1 a.m., Lady J is playing music live. You're
Yes,
also taking requests
I
and you're
am.
donating as well, right?
Well, what I've done is I've asked people if they make a request that they send me a screenshot of a donation that they're making to
I
their
love
favorite
that.
charity, and then
Love
the
it.
song request. So the
Love
song
it.
request window has actually closed, but please continue to make donations to charity
And please
of your
watch
choice.
her. Yes.
Yes. So that's going to be, yeah, at 1 p.m. my time, which I think is 1:30 a.m. your time,
1:30 a.m.
right?
Insomniacs in the house.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I think there are plenty of insomniacs right now during quarantine.
Does
Like,
anyone
what
have
is
any
time
sense of
anymore?
time? Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. You know I love you, and I
Thank you.
think
I
it's
love you
so
too.
special that I could end the series with you because I love and respect you so much.
Thank you.
And
I'm so
thank you.
happy.
And once this is all over, you're coming to India and you're
Yes.
meeting all
Oh
of
my
us
God.
here
I would
to
love
watch in
to. Yes.
person.
And you have to teach me what light you're using right now because you look stunning.
Oh my God, it's
What is this
literally
light?
just my ceiling light on my dining table.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
All right.
Mwah.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.